Welcome to Sports Idiot. I'm your host, Johnny Disco. This week, we're talking about baseball. We're going to have a conversation with Rossberg, and we're going deep into steroids, all that and more. I'm Johnny Disco. This is the Sports Idiot. It's illegal to do a podcast now.
She's not a horse person. She's a person horse.
People like to be choked. Something we like. Welcome in, everybody, to the Sports Idiot Studio here in the Sports Idiot Shed. This is Johnny Disco. Today we're talking about baseball, and today we're going to do something called
the Super Quick Rundown,
where I put a timer on the screen, and I try to run through the sport of the week as quickly as possible without running out of oxygen and getting distracted and having too many gaps in my words that I have to cut out later. You guys would be amazed how much oxygen I actually take out of these episodes. It's kind of insane. You guys are like, they're already boring, dude. How much could you possibly be taking out? It's like a lot, actually. Taking out quite a lot. So we're going to put a timer up on the screen here, and we are going to dive right in. Let's synchronize our watches, guys. Let me get loose here. Flying through baseball. Super quick rundown. 3, 2, 1. Oh my God, I'm wasting so much time. Oh my God. Baseball is a sport played primarily in North America. It is played all over the world, but it was founded here in America, and it's kind of the American sport. It's called America's Pastime. It is played between two teams of 9 players, and 9 is an important number because 9 comes up a bunch in this sport for some reason. 9 players on both sides, and there are 2 phases of play. There's offense, and then there's defense. So the field is a diamond that has all 90-degree angles. The distance between the points are all 90 feet, another 9, and there are 2 squirrels fighting on the roof right now, going ham up there. The ball is a hand-sized ball. It has these seams all over it, and you can, when you throw it, it kind of moves through the air in a cool way. The people in the field, the defense, when the ball is being thrown around, they all wear cool gloves on their hands. There's like a bunch of different styles, but that's the primary defensive tool is a glove. You catch the ball with the glove and you throw it with your arm. So the game is played when a pitcher, a man with a ball and a glove on the mound, throws, pitches the ball into the batter. Now the ball has to be a ball that the guy can hit or the girl can hit. It has to be a hittable ball. The pitcher has 4 balls that are outside of hittable territory to throw, and if he does throw 4 pitches outside of hittable territory, the batter gets to walk to the first base. And 3, what are called strikes, so balls and strikes. You probably heard that before. Baseball is a great sport for, I'm getting distracted. Oh my God, it's the super quick rundown. I'm going off on a tangent. You are trying to advance around the diamond more times than the opposing team. And if you do that over 9 innings, another 9, you win. Cool thing is in the 7th inning, they do something called the 7th inning stretch, where everyone stands up and stretches. And then they sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game, which we were all programmed to learn in elementary school. And then in the postseason, they sing America the Beautiful, which is a pretty song. So that's kind of fun. Let's see what else. Oh, when you're batting on offense, the pitcher throws the ball in, you hit it. If you just get to first base, that's called a single. If you get to second base, it's called a double. If you get to third base, it's called a triple. And if you hit it out of the park beyond the fence in the field, you get to touch them all. That's called a home run. Baseball has a lot of fun terms that then get translated into other things like business and stuff. So that's what this episode is going to be primarily about. Okay, I'm getting distracted again. Oh, my God. Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. Okay, so in professional baseball, there are 30 teams all across the United States and 1 in Canada. There are 30 professional baseball teams. They all have their own big stadium. There are 2 leagues, the National League and the American League, so each one has 15 teams. There are 3 divisions, okay, the West, Central, and East. So what that means is there are 5 teams per your division within your league. So, for instance, I'm from Arizona, so I'm an Arizona Diamondbacks fan, and we are in the National League West, which means throughout the course of the season, we play the other NL West teams a lot. We play them more than everyone else. And that is the LA Dodgers, the Rockies, the Giants. And there's one more. The Padres down in San Diego. So it's kind of regional. And baseball is played from March to September. So for that reason, they are the boys of summer. That's a fun thing that baseball guys are, is the boys of summer. If you're into that. That was the super quick rundown, you guys.
Stop it.
Probably too long. You guys are like 4 minutes too long. Whatever. That's how it goes sometimes. So that was a super quick rundown, guys. Now we're going to get into the meat of the episode, which is talking about that thing we all love, which is home runs. Big old juicy home runs. Bang! And the ball is flying at such a steep angle, and it is just absolutely launched into the stratosphere. Here we go. So I want to put a couple of scenes up on the screen here, and I want to get a feeling for what you guys prefer. Okay, and for everybody just listening, no video, I'll describe them. So here we go. Here's the first one, and it's just a guy hitting a monster home run. Just pure connection, and now, we're seeing the ball fly into the stands. Everyone's going absolutely nuts. Okay, that's the first one. And second one, here it is, and that's a guy striking out. Which do you guys prefer? Let me show you a couple more just in case you guys weren't clear. You needed to see a second look at it, which I totally understand. Here's the first image, and it's a guy getting an absolute barrel on the ball. Barreling it. It is leaving at such a steep launch angle that the only place it could end up is among the stars. This person has hit it out of the stratosphere. Above the tallest clouds is where that ball is headed. Okay. And now here's the comparative image here. It's a guy striking out looking. I think it's obvious we all prefer those juicy barrels. I remember it was 2015. The San Francisco Giants were in the World Series, and I was watching it at work. I worked at one of those cool tech companies that had like a living space. It was cool because there was a ping pong table, but you weren't allowed to use it. But we're watching the World Series, and my coworker's daughter was there, and she was like 4, and I was like, "What are who are you rooting for?" Just trying to be nice to her, and she said, "I just like it when they get hits." And I thought, me too. That's the most fun part of baseball. What we want to know is, are they using steroids? And if not, we really think they should be. Because we love big, nasty hits. We all do. Even the little 4-year-old was like, I don't really care about the game. I just want to see the ball get smashed. But we want to talk a little bit about the history of performance-enhancing drugs. In case it is news to you, we love compounds. We are obsessed with things like coffee and nicotine, tobacco. I think those are the same. I'm not sure if tobacco and nicotine are the same thing. That also applies to sports. There's a great historical example of this. There's a wonderful book by the guy Norman Ohler, with an H in there, and it's called Blitzed, and it's about the Nazis' use of drugs during World War II. Every Nazi stormtrooper, get this, in their ration, their daily ration, they got a pill called Pervitin. It was a Pervitin tablet, which was just straight methamphetamine. So all of these, Nazi soldiers are just cranked the whole war. And if you've ever done amphetamines, like taken Adderall or anything like that, it's like, hey, guys, should we take over the entire country of France tonight? And they're like, I'm down. They're so jacked up on Pervitin. And that's a true story. The Battle of France, they just kind of, they just took over France. They just went west and they just this is ours now. And there's a famous picture of Hitler strolling in his trench coat down the promenade, and there's it's the Arc de Triomphe, or it could be the Eiffel Tower. It's something in the background. But that was viewed as this very aggressive, rapid expansion of Germany and an escalation to the war, because they just were all super Adderalled out and decided to just take France. You know, why be diplomatic when you can just occupy it with our superior infantry and people? There's records of German tank battalions like flying through little French villages at 35 miles an hour, like 7 tanks, just wham. And the people were like, "What was that? Did you guys see those tanks? Am I dreaming?" And they're like, "No, I saw them. They were loud." And then the next day they were like, "You know, you're now occupied by Germany. Supplies." So we love compounds, guys. We absolutely love compounds. And one of the harsh realities about sports is that there's something inherent in us that thinks performance-enhancing drugs are somehow cheating, somehow unfair. I know what you guys are saying out there. You're like, well, it is cheating. And we're going to get to the bottom of that. All right? We're going to get to the bottom of it. So, as I said, there's been a lot of examples of performance-enhancing drug use in sports. So the first, and in my opinion, the biggest one was Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong was a cyclist. He won like a bunch of Tour de France's back to France. He won a bunch of Tour de France. I don't know if you're supposed to say France or France. He won the Tour de France. He won it. He went straight to Gay Paris. He climbed all them mountains in that yellow little tunic. The Tour de France. He was juicing. I remember I was like 8 years old at summer camp in Michigan. It was 1996, and we had a Sports Illustrated Kids. Watch out. The Kids is graffiti font. Don't mind us. We're just these kids. And there was a story in there about this very inspirational athlete who had testicular cancer and beat testicular cancer and had won the Tour de France. And he went on to win like 6 more times. It was the most dominant sports thing ever. And what's great about the Tour de France, as I said, they wear these fun yellow, the leader wears a fun yellow vest. So it is super iconic when, you know, Lance like climbing in the yellow vest and the cool little hat, just like, I'm not doping much. But he was. They were doing something called blood doping, where you draw your blood when you're clean, when you have clean blood, and then you lay down in a charter bus and transfuse all the dopey blood out and put the clean blood in. And so when you take a drug test, yeah, you got clean blood. They're like, we don't know how you're doing it, but you've broken every single record, and you truly seems like you're on performance-enhancing drugs. So that was a big one. He had a wristband called Live Strong and a whole foundation promoting cancer research, all that kind of stuff. Super feel-good story. He married Sheryl Crow. He got a either West Coast Customs or Chopped. He got a custom lowrider motorcycle. There was a little period there where that was a huge status symbol, having a custom motorcycle. West Coast Customs or lowriders or one of them. It all came crashing down, and the whole sport came crashing down, guys, because all of the other guys were cheating too. There wasn't like a single person who wasn't cheating. And, you know, they were like, okay, well, he was cheating. We'll give it to the second place person. No, they're all cheating. Then there was a baseball-specific juicing scandal. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that on the interview with Rossberg. But it was the Sosa McGuire summer of 1998 race to 61 to see if someone could beat Aaron Burr or Aaron something. I'll look it up. Aaron something's, Aaron Spelling? No. Aaron someone had a home run record, and these guys were trying to beat it. It was such an idyllic summer. We're going to talk a lot more about that. They were both found out to be juicing. And then another one is Barry Bonds, who just like 10 years later broke their records and hit absolute blasts to right field. He was a lefty, so when he's standing in the box and he hits it, he pulls it out to right field. And he played for the San Francisco Giants. That the San Francisco Bay is in right field, a little spot called McCovey Cove. So you have a little water there and dudes in kayaks, and he just hit bombs. So the question that we're trying to answer is, are the pros today juicing? And I think the answer is yes. I know there's been plenty of cases of people getting caught juicing lately. I know the Atlanta Braves have a player right now who's out for like half the season because he tested positive for dope. The reason I'm so confident is that all of these things, all of the stories I just told you, blood doping, taking testosterone, taking steroids, they were all profoundly illegal and frowned upon and looked down upon. And it felt like there was a, willful suspension of belief by all of the fans and viewers. Like, no, yeah, they're natural. Boom! And Mark McGuire's neck is just 2 whole cows. It's like, good God, bro. So all of those times, drugs were as illegal as ever. And there was another, you might think like, well, these are professional sports. Like, there might be a circumstance where, doping truly is not prevalent, like in the Olympics, where it's like you're competing for your country, so you have the honor of your country. It's not a professional organization. It's, home pride. And unfortunately, there's huge doping scandals in the Olympics, too. If you have watched in the last couple of years, the Russian, they don't fly the Russian flag anymore. They fly like the Olympic flag, and it's the Russian Federation of Athletes because they got caught doing an elaborate doping scandal and doping, complex that they got found out. And it was a really cool story. It was a whistleblower. There's a movie called Icarus. That's a documentary, came out in 2017, actually won the best documentary Oscar. I'll just cut to the end and tell you the whole thing. I don't care if you're going to go watch it. He wanted to dope. He was like a cyclist in Colorado, and he wanted to dope. He was like, I'm not a pro, but I want to dope and have fun. He met this guy, I want to say he was like from Belarus or something. And he was like, yeah, dude, I can tell you all the right dosages. I can tell you everything you want to know about performance-enhancing drugs. I know everything. And so they formed this friendship, and the guy is like, hey, I want to come visit you in America. And he comes, and he's like, all right, I need to tell you something. I orchestrated the blood doping for the entire Russian Olympic team in Sochi in their Winter Olympics. And he's like, it's a huge state-run, elaborate cheating scandal. And he's like been on the run ever since. Check it out. Icarus. So these things have been around, they're still around, they're going to be around. And that gets us to the question of, should they be legal? Today, across all sports, they are illegal. There are a ton of illegal compounds. There are a ton of things that move from legal to illegal. Players are regularly tested for their urine and probably also their blood. So what we wanted to do is do a proper Oxford debate regarding the resolution, should performance-enhancing drugs be legal in sports? So I am going to argue both the con side, that would be arguing against the resolution, so that would be maintaining the status quo. The resolution being, should PEDs be legal in sports? The con is saying no, they shouldn't be. And the pro is saying yes, they should be. So I took a speech and debate class in college, and the professor was super cool and kind of let me coast, and I got a B. So thank you to that guy. I can't remember your name, but you sat really weird in a chair. You did a kneel. You did a lunge in the chair, and it was a source of conversation, but we loved you. You're a really nice guy. So I will start on the con side of this resolution, should PEDs be legal in sports? So the first one, I've kind of mentioned a couple of times, it's the spirit of sport. There's something intrinsically moral about competition, where we are all agreeing, hey, we're not going to kill each other with our hands here. We are going to agree tacitly to play by the rules. We are going to agree to uphold whatever the referees say and agree that they are the authority on what happens in this game. And we're going to not shame ourselves and the people that represent us by cheating. This is I'm still in the debate, so I can't argue against that. Another argument that they should remain illegal is a health risk. They might enlarge your heart, or they might put undue strain on your liver, or things like that. I think there's also an impact that would happen at the rookie level and the youth level. You would have an incentive for younger players to take performance-enhancing drugs if they were legal, and that might stunt or injure a young athlete. If they're 15 years old, they might shoot their ligaments out or some kind of thing if they were to take performance-enhancing drugs. There's also a risk with any sort of compound, of abuse and people using it wrong, hurting themselves, things like that. Lastly, on the con side, there is a pretty profound stereotype around these compounds that they lead to increased levels of aggression, which people call roid rage. Everyone I've talked to who's done them has, agreed that, like, yes, roid rage is 100% real. I heard a story once about these two, everyone was super roided out in this, like, strength and conditioning gym, and these dudes were arguing, and they were throwing 45-pound plates at each other. They were hurling those like frisbees. So, roid rage is a thing. And I think especially with the rise of a lot of unfortunate domestic violence amongst pro athletes, that seems like a consistent thing. There's a lot of that. It's definitely something that needs to be taken into account if these drugs were to become legal. So that's the con side. Moving over to the pro side. First, steroids and performance-enhancing drugs, they don't necessarily make you strong. They make you recover faster so you can exercise more. So you don't just like take them and then like you're just like humongous, like Bane in the like mid-90s Batman Forever. Still have to work out, you still have to eat well, and you still have to train, intensely and focus on it to a expert degree if you're going to get the results that a professional athlete would want. Second, it doesn't make you good at a sport. Like baseball is a very technical, complex sport. For instance, as we mentioned in the rundown, let's say I throw the ball to first instead of third, and the guy on third advances and scores, we are one down on our opponent because of a defensive decision that I made. We still got the out. I threw the guy out at first. Who cares if a guy stays on first when you have a guy who can score? Because scoring is all that really matters. So steroids doesn't teach you how to be a good baseball player or basketball player. Doesn't teach you how to be a gymnast. You have to learn all those things. We already have a ton of technology in sports. I personally think it's gone too far. I think, it's hard to watch a professional football game because there's so many reviews. Personally, like if we're going to use the cameras and the slow-mo and the 4K and do the reviews, then I think it should be fair for the athletes to use technology, advancement in biology and medical sciences to deliver a better product, to heal faster, and to be better at, their job. If we don't want to do PEDs, then I think we should take away the instant replay and just let it truly be up to the spirit of humans in playing sports, which is imperfection. We're imperfect. There's fallacy in assuming that we have all a perfect set of knowledge and the umpire or the referee is going to get it right. We all know they don't, and we all know that they're human too, and often are coerced and, become their own bad part of sports. Now, prohibition tends to not work. It creates black markets, and that leads to more dangerous use of compounds and drugs. If you have to get it illegally and you have to kind of run the risk of getting caught, there might be more coercive elements that might lead to violence and drug deals gone bad, things like that. Also, professional athletes are already the elite of the elite of the elite. In the example of baseball, pros, so the MLB, the 30 teams, those are already the most elite of the elite because there are 5 leagues under the top league, MLB. There's AAA, AA, single A. There's like 2 others. This is an interesting fact. The average age for a rookie in the MLB, in Major League Baseball, is 27. A lot of people might think, oh, it's like 21 or 22 right out of college, just like football, just like basketball. That would be wrong. In baseball, there's a huge, steep learning curve to get up to the professional level. And on average, players spend between 3 and 5 years in the farm system, getting their skills up, getting their strength up, so where they can go and play in the bigs, make it up in the big leagues. So the guys up there in the bigs are already the top dogs. They're already the freaks, and giving them performance-enhancing drugs would only increase their freak factor. And then lastly, I think keeping performance-enhancing drugs illegal is kind of a double standard in our culture because every other walk of life gets to readily and freely take drugs. Obviously, like people like pilots don't get to do that, but most of us are on SSRIs. A lot of men in their like 30s and 40s do TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy. You can kind of tell when someone's doing it because their neck is really flush. They get like a TRT neck. RFK Jr. has it. We have Ozempic, Mounjaro, the semaglutides. People are jabbing themselves with those all the time. I don't know if people realize this is my cross to bear with Ozempic, but it has a very noticeable effect on someone's face. As a person who is very observant, I can tell right away when someone is taking Ozempic. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling me. It's just like veneers. It's like, you have the teeth of a 16-year-old girl who just got her braces off. Wow. Are those natural? And of course, beta blockers, guys. I know a ton of professionals who take beta blockers to calm them down and make them deliver on their, if they have to give a speech or whatever. So we're using performance enhancing drugs all the time. It's kind of a weird double standard for us to then say, well, no, I don't think the pros should do it because like that's cheating. And the cheating is gonna happen. Cheating is, this is just in my own personal experience. Like you come into this world assuming that everyone's gonna play by the rules, and that is a fool's opinion, because if you aren't cheating, you aren't trying. And people don't punish cheaters. Oftentimes they are rewarded. They said, hey, great job. You figured out a way to beat the game outside of the rules. We don't care that you broke the rules. We care about the result. We care about the championship. There's elaborate data stealing schemes in professional sports and college sports. There's people deflating balls so the balls have less air in them. There are people who have taken a file like you'd find in a wood shop, and they will file off a little bit of the baseball to create, more drag and give it more movement as it flows through the air. It's one of those things, like, if you didn't get caught, was it cheating? I don't know. And if you aren't playing with that edge, looking for ways to beat your opponent, even ones that are somewhat questionable, are you even trying? So that was our Oxford debate on PEDs. Now we are going to head over to a conversation with my good friend, the Rossberg, about a very special summer to both of us, that summer of 1998. Here we go. Hey guys, we just want to take a second and thank this week's unpaid advertiser. That, of course, is the restaurant Waffle House. Now, these guys have been so good to us. They've done absolutely nothing for us. They have in no way endorsed this show in any way. But we love their restaurant. We love going there. If you haven't been to a Waffle House, get into a Waffle House, guys, okay? It's like stepping into the medieval guild system. All right, there's a master craftswoman. She has 4 or 5 knights working the grill. She has a ton of apprentices, waitresses who have a bunch of flair, and they're out having a good time, laughing it up, putting on tunes. And then you have a little squire, busboy, who's, writing up the tables. They are all the same. They are all open 24 hours. Guys, go to Waffle House. And when you get there, say, hey, Johnny Disco sent me. And they'll say, we have a lot of weird, crazy people in here who say weird, crazy stuff, and that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Johnny who? They'll say, like, Johnny who? They're like, hey, everybody. They said Johnny Disco sent them. And they'll say, what? Who came up with that name? And then you're at a Waffle House, and you're paying full price, baby. Head over to the Waffle House and have a great time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Sports Idiot Studio, Sports Idiot Shed for the very first time. The one and only Rossberg. Ross, would you like to say a little hello?
Hello, audience. I am grateful to be here, just as your shirt so accurately says.
Yep.
So, yeah, thanks for having me.
So, to everyone at home, Rossberg is one of my lifelong friends, and it's one of those friendships where I really know one thing about him, and that's he loves sports. And we could go all day talking about various aspects of various sports and never once be bored.
That is correct. I think when we get together in the summers in Michigan and we just discuss sports and what batting stance we've been working on on the off season, mostly late 90s, early 2000s MLB stars. We talk about that and about nothing else. My mom will say, "Oh, how's Johnny? What's he doing for work?"
Unemployed.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I know he's been working on his Ken Griffey Jr. stance, and it's really good.
And, he's probably upset about the Cardinals and probably a little upset the football team and probably a little down on the Diamondbacks. And that's that's to everyone listening at home. Like I'm on a group chat with Ross, and 98% sports. It's just various footage from the 90s of like Sports Center that is just dudes we loved hitting barrels or fights or whatever. It was just like there's so much rich culture, I think, among men that sports represents.
Yeah, especially that time period. It was the glory days.
Mm,
And we're just trying to relive that every
exactly.
waking moment of the rest of our lives.
Exactly. Just take us back. So, Ross, where did you grow up in the United States?
I grew up in a southern region of the state of Illinois, land of Lincoln. So, yeah, I grew up about an hour and a half outside of the city of St. Louis. A lot of family from the Chicagoland area. Spent a lot of time there and grew up kind of with the closest city being St. Louis, though.
And so, as a kid, sports were a huge deal. Where did that come from? Was your dad really into sports or your friends? How did that work?
Yeah, so with family kind of in the Chicago area, that's where my dad grew up. So I was kind of a Bears fan, Blackhawks fan. And then on the baseball side, I was a massive St. Louis Cardinals fan growing up. And so I was kind of torn in between the two cities for my fanhood. And, I would just say at a young age, I became like obsessed with baseball. We all grew up playing Little League, and that's just the natural thing to do as a kid in the summer to get away from your parents, get them as kids away from them. But so I would say like 7, 8 years old, I probably became a huge baseball fan.
And you knew like all the players on the Cardinals roster. Would you know the St. Louis Cardinals, the baseball team? Would you know, a lot of the players in your guys' like division and around the league? And was it something that you like paid very close attention to?
Very much so. I mean, I like would watch every game. There were only 162 games throughout the season, and if you missed one, it was kind of a disaster. And you're like, how am I going to recover? There's not a game for another 12 hours. So, yeah, I would watch every game. And, I referenced earlier our time in Michigan in the summers. I remember growing up and like borrowing 50 cents from my mom to like go get a newspaper to see if the Cardinals won the day before. And it would either ruin my day or like make my day great. Like, awesome, let's go to the beach.
Oh,
But
that'd be a wonderful day.
it was such a stressful moment, like opening the sports section and seeing that the Cardinals lost to the Pirates 4-3 in 10
Uh,
innings.
it's something
It was
that
a disaster.
we talked about with the Manji, just the access to information. And it makes me realize, like, when I was a kid, I remember getting the newspaper and going to the sports section because that's all I really cared about in the newspaper. I didn't care about anything else. And I remember wondering, like, God, they have every single stat in here for every single sport and every single player. Like, I wonder who's reading this and like loving all of this or taking all of this in and appreciating it because it is like a long range project, a sports season, especially baseball.
Yeah, and baseball is the perfect sport for stats. Like,
Mm.
it is the perfect sport for keeping track of everything with hits, home runs, stolen bases. It goes on and on. So it is the perfect sport for like a stats nerd. And it was also the best for baseball cards. I remember I had albums filled with baseball cards. I don't even know where I got them, but I had thousands of baseball cards that I would, you know, just look through every day. Like,
You had a card
yeah.
shop then you had a card shop you'd go to.
No, I don't even remember where I got them. I guess like packs of gum or like from friends.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't even think I was going to a card shop, or I think it was just my parents didn't know what else to get me, so they'd give me that for my birthday. Like,
Mm.
he'll believe me, he'll be happy with this. So I I had thousands, and I would just look at a Cal Ripken rookie card, and it would make my day. So
So cool. So I've never, yeah, like I just, it's so funny, dude. I had a friend whose older brother got really into cards, and I want to say to this day, he still deals in the card world. And it was cool, but there was always an aspect of like these sleazy guys who ran the card shops. And it was just like, I don't like it here.
yeah, I think those are the same guys who wait outside hotels for professional athletes to like get on the bus when they're a visiting team,
Oh my God.
asking for autographs, just so they can sell them online. It's
Yeah. God, it makes me think of
weird demographic.
what's his name? The problem that OJ Simpson ran into was like he was signing a bunch of stuff for some dude and then he shot him or something like later in life. Obviously he had other things allegations. But yeah, the industry or the economy of sports memorabilia is crazy. Something I don't really think about, but it's out there.
Yeah, a lot of weirdos out there.
A lot of weirdos obsessed with these former stars. So the Cardinals are in the NL National League Central Division.
That's right.
Uh,
National League Central.
so who are the
Um,
other teams who are in the NL Central with them?
yeah, so currently it is the Chicago Cubs, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Milwaukee Brewers, Cincinnati Reds, and the Cardinals. I think I got everyone.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
Cardinals. And then um, who's the rival of the St. Louis Cardinals?
it is the Chicago Cubs for sure.
So there's a lot of hatred there.
A lot of hatred, and I think it's just stemmed off, Chicago versus St. Louis, just kind of rival cities. Chicago's the big brother. St. Louis is, always trying to prove themselves, and then just being in the same division and the proximity between the two cities. They're about a 4 hour drive, I think, away from each other. So there's just that natural hatred for each other.
That's awesome. I think that's the best. And we talked about this in the super quick rundown, everybody, but these, the league you're in, there's two leagues, the National League and the American League. Then those are broken out into three regions that are called divisions. Those five teams in your the league and your division, those are like your guys. You see them a lot throughout the season. You get to know them very well, and at the end of the season, you're competing with those four other teams to make the playoffs. So just to paint additional clarity, the Cardinals are in the same league, the National League, as my team, the Arizona Diamondbacks. So when it came to the postseason, we pretty regularly it was the Cardinals. They were the best team in the Central Division, and often the Braves were the best team in the East division for the National League. And so, I growing up in Arizona, I have a lot of memories of the playing the St. Louis Cardinals, playing in the St. Louis Cardinals Stadium because the Cardinal Stadium has that super iconic. What's the name of what's that field called?
Busch Stadium, Busch, after the Anheuser-Busch family.
Oh, baby.
Augie Busch, I think, was the original owner. I don't know, but yeah,
You don't see a Boggy or much these days as a first name. It's coming back. Tell me about Bushfield because that is a beautiful stadium.
yeah. First of all, Busch Stadium, don't let it happen again. Not field. But no, it's an iconic stadium. Every fan is so partial to their own fan or own team stadium, but it is, I would say, one of the top 5 to 10 iconic stadiums in the country. Um, and the main reason just being the history of the Cardinals. I think of the most World Series in the National League historically. It is a baseball city. They don't have, let's just say, as much as the nightlife as maybe the East Coast and West Coast teams. And, they do have a hockey team. They did temporarily have a football team. But it has just always been a baseball city. It's always been about the Cardinals. So that is their cathedral, so to say, for the city. And it's a really cool skyline of the St. Louis Arch, so the gateway to the west.
Mm.
And you can see that from the seats. So it's just a really cool stadium that they've always had. And they have this one section that is called the Big Mac Land. It is an upper deck section in left field that, it was just the perfect kind of branding with McDonald's and then Mark McGuire, whose nickname was Big Mac. So it is still standing to this day as Big Mac Land. And when you hit a home run up there, it is a moonshot. So that's just where he used to hit them.
My favorite thing. We all love just stratospheric home runs that are accelerating on the way up. It's like a rocket. And that's so cool. I didn't know that Big Mac Land. I'll flash it up here. But the stadium also, it has these arches on the top. It's like this very Coliseum looking stadium. And that was the part that was so, because as a kid watching TV, you like kind of can't put it all together unless you're a spotist like Manji, like Ross, who can, illustrate how these things all work. But we would just always, it'd be like, okay, who are we playing now? And it'd be like, oh, we're in that stadium again. And then we always went to Turner Field too. It's really cool. The stadiums are a really cool aspect of baseball. That it is like a cathedral of the sport. And
Yeah, and they're mostly all outdoor stadiums too, which is just so cool. Played in the summertime, good weather, whereas football is typically a dome. You're looking at a big gray metal ceiling and during the cold winter months. So yeah, it's just the atmosphere at a baseball game is unrivaled.
yeah, and there's something, I don't know how many people can appreciate this, but when you're in the Midwest, the winter is long, it is gray, and then the summer is this explosion of life and color. The long, evenings, the sun going down at 8 or 9 at night, and just there's a sweetness in the air. It feels like throughout the Midwest, and I'm sure St. Louis just is that perfect example of the summer magic that is baseball.
Absolutely. Throw in some hot dogs and a cold beer
Mm.
and add to the fact that St. Louis has nothing else going on during the summer. It's the only place to be. It's the only option on TV. And yeah, it was magical growing up for sure.
Did you ever keep score in a scorebook when you were a kid?
I did not. I never did that.
Mm.
Um, I remember like I would go to games with my friends and their dads would keep score.
Mm.
And it's probably just because I didn't know how to do it as a kid. It's
Sure.
why I didn't. Otherwise, I would have probably been all in on that.
Yeah, for everyone at home, there's this, scorebook in baseball is this like it's almost like hieroglyphics. You have all the batters up there, and then you have a diamond for every inning, so it's this big like grid, and you're just, it's perfect for people who have like really good focus because you can't miss a single thing. And that's whenever I go to a baseball game, I zone out. It's like, what is happening? But if you can pay attention, it's like
Yeah.
perfect game.
I mean, 3 hours of like documenting every single pitch that happens is like that's next level focus. But I always wondered, what do those people do with that after? Like, okay, I kept score and I have this
Yeah,
notebook filled with every pitch, single, double, fly out,
there's something,
etc.
some
Now what?
reflecting. Yeah,
Like, where does that go?
yeah, something, like they kill people after. Um, And another thing that I think is great, people go to the ballpark and bring little handheld radios and they listen to the broadcast over like whatever AM, FM, and sit there and they're in their own little world.
Yeah. And when you are a fan of a team, you are in love with your radio guys because
Mhm.
sometimes you're hearing their voices more than your own parents, especially as a kid. Like I said, 162 games. And if you're listening to them on the radio, driving or at home or whatever, I mean, 3 hours a day for 6 months straight, you are hearing them talk. So like
Mhm.
that is some serious time with strangers. And yeah, a lot of weirdos also go and, with, like you said, take the headset with the radio and listen to them talk about the game as they are also keeping score. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is a stat driven sport for sure, and I would say baseball fans are like all in seam heads
Mhm.
is the nickname for them.
That's awesome.
They're kind of the next level fanatic, compared to I would say other sports.
Oh, definitely, dude. My mother-in-law is a crazy Braves fan, and she's not particularly a big fan of baseball. She doesn't really care much about any of the other teams, but she loves her Braves, watches every single inning, knows all the guys, and ride or die, good or bad, watches every game she can. And it's gotten me into it. I'm like, yeah, let's get together. I want to watch the Braves. Let's root for them. So it's such a fun thing in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So let's talk about the bulk of what we want to talk to Rossberg about, which is the summer of 1998. So to set the stage for everybody, in the baseball season of 1998, which is from March to September, two monolithic batters were going head to head for the home run title, which is the most home runs in a season. And it was the perfect friendly, like sports, something everyone could pay attention to. And we were, we were all, are we going to see greatness? Is either of them going to do it? And, they were going back and forth. So this is Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, double alliterative names, absolutely perfect. And McGuire was a St. Louis Cardinal. So in 1998, we were like 10 years old. What was that like to be a fan of?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was everything. Yeah, you set the stage well. So, yes, 1998, you got McGuire on the Cardinals, you got Sosa on the Cubs. You either
Cubs
love
again. Oh my
one,
God. Yeah, I didn't even connect that. Oh my
yeah.
God. So they're
So you
rivals.
have the rivalry, right? You have the rivalry alone with the teams, and then so you either you love one and hate the other, no matter what. Especially as a fan of one of those two teams, and you have a guy and you stick with him. So, um, yeah. And previous to that, so like there's a lot of build up towards that year of 1998 because a fellow by the name of Roger Maris held the all-time home run record for a single season at 61, and that stood for like I don't know, 40, 50 years whenever he played. And at the same time in 1998, you had these two massive human beings from each team and division rivals, both like on pace to break that record the same time, same year. So it was just this massive sports story at the time. And I think Maris had 61 and McGuire ended up with 70 and Sosa ended up with 66, I believe, that same year. So it was just a crazy year. They were both breaking the record. They were both playing each other just as division rivals, playing each other a lot throughout the season. So just several games against each other. Will he hit home run? Will he not? Will both of them? And there's probably about a 50% chance they were going to hit one each game. So it was just a huge suspenseful moment. And it was appointment television. I mean, it really was the biggest sports story going on. And yeah, it was, I was obsessed. I remember my dad, he got tickets to the game. I think it was against the Cubs too. So it was Cardinals Cubs
September 8th
whenever,
when he broke it.
yeah, whenever McGuire broke the record to hit number 62. And, he was there with his friends and just, it was before cell phone pictures. So like every, disposable camera in the stadium was going off at the moment of every pitch. It was just this really cool spectacle to see. And then he hits the home run and just the place goes wild. They stopped the game for like a ceremony. It was insane. And I remember he told me like years later that him and his friends took pot brownies, I think, before. So,
Oh my God.
they were just stoned, probably didn't know what was going on. And yeah,
Dude,
it was
1998
hilarious.
pot brownies. Like 98 pot brownies, not, what you're going to get in Colorado these days. Like no dosage control. These guys were just wah, 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 wah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were. And at one point they were on TV and they're like, there were four of them just standing there, just drinking beer. And it's so funny to look back and know that they took pot brownies. But yeah, it was a crazy, crazy time. I remember I went to one of the games that year with friends of mine in school, and it was the same game that McGuire got ejected in the first inning. So first inning of the game, he gets ejected for arguing a ball strike call, and he just goes and like attacks the umpire. You can look up the footage.
Wow.
It's incredible. He's like chasing after him, and McGuire has the biggest shoulders on a human I've ever seen. Uh, and it was just, he's a terrifying human. And at the time, it was crazy because we were so upset because, hey, we all came here to see McGuire hit this home run chase, and he gets thrown out in the first inning, so he's not allowed to come back in for the rest of the game. And people were throwing things on the field, and I, like you said, I was like 10 years old, like what is going on? And I'll never forget, this guy goes to the concession stand and buys like the big, deluxe nachos and just launches it onto the field right next to us. And I'm sure they cost $20 for those nachos, just so we could prove a point that he was upset about that call. And it was a scene.
That's
It
how
was
much
so
we
fun.
love home runs. It's like, hey, we're about to lynch this guy because he took away the thing that we all came to see, which is the big bombs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that home run. So that was September 8th, 1998, when he broke Roger Maris's record. And McGuire was a lefty or a righty?
He was a righty.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
he was a righty.
he hit it to left field. For all the fans at home, that means he pulled the ball that way. The other thing is if he went to right field, it'd be an oppo shot, opposite field, which he had plenty of too. He also hit a ton of, like barreled moon balls that just were sky high pop ups over the highest fence. And I mean, he just hit the ball so hard, so far. But the record breaker, which I'll throw up here, it was really short. It was like barely over the wall.
Yeah, it like crept over the wall right next to the foul pole, where I think half the stadium didn't know if it was a home run or not, especially for those that were on pop brownies, had no idea. So the place just erupted, and everyone was just kind of shocked just because it was like a low line drive,
Hmm.
and it wasn't one of his textbook mammoth shots.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because I remember I had a poster in my room growing up that had every home run in the distance
Hmm.
from that season by McGuire. And you compare that to like today's home runs, and they were all like 550 feet,
Wow.
like 600 feet, and now they're like 400 feet. So, I mean, he was hitting them way further than everyone else.
Oh, it's just the absolute best. So my Zoom is telling me we're running out of time. So we will wrap here in a second. This has been awesome. I mean, I've learned so much sweet stuff, so that's so cool. But I wanted to bring it up to the present, and talk about bat flips and how sick bat flips are. So for everyone at home, when dudes pimp home runs, as they say, tell us about it, Ross. What's bat flips all about?
Yeah, bat flips are or pimp jobs are what it's adds a little flair to the game. And you look back at like the McGuire, Sosa, Barry Bonds, like those guys were absolute legends at it, especially when they were pumped full of steroids at the time, which was awesome. We need to bring that back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a bat flip is basically just telling the pitcher, "I own you,"
Mm.
and there's no better feeling, I would imagine. From my 1 day a year softball game that we play in together, pimping a home run is the best feeling ever.
Well, and that is a great way to wrap it because those, for everyone at home, we already kind of talked about this, but those Sosa and McGuire were both found out to be juicing so much, and it was great. It was great, and like as you've clearly said, Ross, like many times, it was one of the biggest spectacles in sport that summer, maybe all time. Like it was though every single at bat when McGuire would come up to bat, I'm sure the rating spiked because it's like, okay, are we going to see another one? Like it was so great for baseball, for sport in general, and they were pumped full of juice. And I'll show some of the highlights. I mean, these guys are monsters. Both of them are just the biggest dudes you've ever seen, and I'm fine with it. What do you think, Ross? Should PEDs be legal?
I think all you have to do is look at the ratings, and if you look at the ratings in 90s, 2000s, like those decades,
Mm.
it was appointment television. Nowadays, baseball's kind of fallen off. I think football has really taken over
Mm.
as the most popular sport in America. Baseball has the nickname America's pastime, and I don't think they can claim that anymore. You look at primetime Monday Night Football, it doesn't matter who's playing. Um, People are going to watch it. And you look at baseball in primetime, nobody's sitting down to watch the Kansas City Royals play the Cincinnati Reds. It is
Yeah.
just not, it's not even on, America's radar. So I think to bring back the audience and the ratings, let them juice.
Let them juice. Yeah, that's my argument as well. They're already the best of the best. They've already risen to the top. Let's just allow them to take it to the next level for our enjoyment. And the other thing I think too is it's like with McGuire and Sosa and Barry Bonds and Lance Armstrong, it's like you're not stopping them. They're still finding a way to do it. And I feel like that'll always be there.
Yeah, there's always loopholes. There's always ways around it. Yeah, I agree. Just make it a free for all and let the big boys bash.
Please. Thank you. Well, Ross, this has been awesome. You are the man. Thank you so much for all your information. Great interview. I'm sure we'll have you back here on the Sports Idiot podcast, in the Sports Idiot studio, in the Sports Idiot shed sometime very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, JD.
That was our show this week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to the third episode of the Sports Idiot with Johnny Disco. We have one more episode to go before we beat my college lacrosse coach's record. He only did 3 episodes of his podcast. So the 4th episode will technically be a new record in podcasts. We hope you guys will check it out. Do me a huge favor, okay? Smash all the buttons below, like we always say. And then also share this in a group chat. Say one other group chat that you haven't already shared and say, hey, what's up, guys? I don't stake my reputation on these jokes or this person, and it's a little questionable, how he is. But he asked me to share this. Please do that. And join us again next time. I'm Johnny Disco, and that was the Sports Idiot.